The night the bar fell silent began with a sound no one expected, the sharp tear of fabric cutting through laughter and clinking glasses, like a scream swallowed by smoke and neon. Heads turned. Time slowed. A biker's arm was frozen midair, a waitress staggered back, and in that suspended second, something was revealed that none of them were prepared to see. Not skin meant for shame or spectacle, but a truth so raw it burned through the room, draining the noise, the bravado, the easy cruelty that had filled the air only moments before. If you believe stories like this matter, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of seeing what's usually hidden, take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories of humanity alive. The bar sat at the edge of town where highways crossed and lives brushed past each other without stopping. It was a place built on habit and hardness, where leather jackets and tired eyes blended with the smell of grease and old music. The waitress had learned to move quickly, to smile without inviting, to keep her eyes low and her spine straight. She carried plates like shields, balancing the weight of other people's nights while holding together her own. Her shirt was plain, a uniform chosen to disappear into the work, to be seen only as a function, not a person. She had been doing this long enough to know when a room leaned toward danger, long enough to sense when a joke edged toward harm. Tonight, the air was thick with it. The biker had come in loud, a storm of metal and laughter, the kind of presence that bent attention his way whether it wanted to or not. He wasn't a villain carved from a single moment, he was a man layered with miles and scars of his own, carrying anger like a second engine. Alcohol thinned the distance between impulse and action. When his hand snagged fabric, when the sound tore through the bar, it wasn't desire that drove him, it was the careless violence of someone used to taking up space without consequence. The waitress stumbled, breath knocked loose, heart racing with a familiar dread. She thought she had outrun what the room saw, then changed everything. Beneath the torn cloth were not curves or invitations, but maps of survival, old bruises yellowed into memory, newer ones still dark and tender, thin lines of healed cuts tracing a history written in pain. There were marks where fingers had gripped too hard, where doors had closed too fast, where nights had ended with apologies that never lasted. The evidence was undeniable, intimate without being sexual, a ledger of harm that had followed her into the place she worked to escape it. The bar went quiet because silence was the only thing big enough to hold it. In that stillness, the waitress stood exposed in a way she had spent years trying to avoid. Shame rushed in, uninvited, even though none of it belonged to her. She felt the old instinct to apologize, to fold herself smaller, to gather the torn fabric and pretend nothing had happened. Her life had been a series of careful steps taken around other people's tempers, a constant calculation of risk. She had learned to survive by enduring, by believing that getting through the night was victory enough. But something shifted as she looked out at the faces watching her, not with hunger or mockery, but with shock that edged into understanding. The biker saw it too. The heat drained from his chest as the room reflected his action back at him, stripped of bravado. The truth beneath the torn shirt didn't flatter him, it accused him. It showed him the echo of harm, the way one careless act could reopen doors someone had fought to close. In that moment, he wasn't a symbol or a stereotype. He was a man forced to confront the weight of his hands, the story they had interrupted. The bar, a place that had celebrated toughness, now had to sit with tenderness it didn't know how to handle. Others moved before the waitress could decide what to do. A jacket appeared around her shoulders, heavy and warm, offered without spectacle. A chair scraped softly as someone made space, not to stare but to shelter. The bartender set aside glasses and reached for a towel, not to clean a spill but to help her cover the tear. These small acts stacked quietly, a bridge built plank by plank across a moment that could have shattered her. For the first time in a long while, she felt held by strangers, not trapped by them. As the adrenaline ebbed, something else rose in its place. The waitress realized that being seen did not have to mean being consumed. The marks on her skin had told a story she had never been allowed to finish. Tonight, they spoke for her, not as a plea for pity, but as proof of resilience. She had survived what tried to break her. She was still standing. The room's silence became a kind of respect, and respect, she discovered, felt like oxygen. The biker did not leave. He stayed with the discomfort, with the understanding that apologies mattered less than changed behavior. The bar, too, learned something it would carry forward, a lesson etched into its walls like a new rule. Kindness was not weakness. Attention was not entitlement. And sometimes, the bravest thing a person could do was stop, look, and choose not to repeat the harm that had been handed to them. As the night wound down, the waitress finished her shift wrapped in borrowed warmth. She walked out into the cool air with her shoulders squared, aware that tomorrow would still hold challenges, that healing was not a single moment but a long road. Yet something had changed. She had witnesses now, and not the kind that took from her. She had seen how quickly a room could turn from threat to refuge when people decided to care. If this story is touching you right now, if it's making you think about the moments you've witnessed or the ones you've survived, please take a second to comment below and share what it stirred in you. Just before you go, leave a comment with one word that this story brought to your heart: hope, courage, healing, or something entirely your own, so others reading can feel less alone. And as the door of the bar closed behind her, the waitress didn't look back. She stepped into the night carrying a quiet truth, that even in places built on noise and hardness, compassion could arrive unannounced, and when it did, it had the power to freeze cruelty in its tracks and let humanity breathe again.